Hello and welcome. My name is Harts, and I'm joined today by Ninja Pepe and my wonderful pet Love, and I'm going to be talking about Odd Thomas, my favorite book-to-movie adaptation so far. The book was originally done by Dean Koontz, and I'm doing this because I had heard that Anton Yelchin died, and he was the one that they chose to bring the character to life, and I can appreciate that. I feel like this is a very underrated movie. I saw that a lot of other critics had given it like a mediocre review. It was like 6s and 5s and shit. And I just feel that that isn't very accurate. I feel like this movie is very much underrated. It's very quick paced. The story is all there. They did overall a very wonderful job. They didn't really cut anything out that didn't need to be there. The stuff that they did cut out could have fleshed out the characters more, but I feel that they still held true to the essence of the story. They still held true to the characters themselves, and with the exception of one, I'll get to that later. But most of the book makes it into the movie very accurately, or everything that they left in, beat for beat, is true going from the book. And the movie itself is very well done. The movie doesn't really have a slow moment. It's very quick paced throughout the entire thing. And they condensed it very well into an hour and a half long movie. So I would highly recommend checking it out. Odd Thomas can talk to ghosts, and he sort of takes it upon himself to try to right whatever wrong had happened, whether that be confronting something or just even talking to the ghosts to sort of help them move on, pass on to the next life or whatever. And there's plenty of action in it. You have the likes of Willem Dafoe as the police chief. Patton Oswalt, I know a lot of people love him. I think he's pretty adorable in most of the roles I've seen him in. He has a small role in the movie as well. And a bunch of people that, sadly, I can't say I've ever really heard of. Yeah, definitely go check out the movie. Read the book as well. The book it's still better than the movie. The movie did a very good job, but the book is still much better. And I'm going to jump right into some spoilers. So like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if there's a movie you want to hear my thoughts on. If you do click off here, then have a good one, and you can always come back later to hear the spoilers after you've seen the movie for yourself. So, spoilers. First of all, I'm not going to be able to talk about the movie without talking about the book. It's the only thing I can really compare it to, and the movie itself is very well done. There are still several things that I wish they could have put in a little bit more. Maybe bump it to a 2-hour movie just to get a little bit more flesh on the characters. The characters are very well done, but I feel, without looking at the book, I feel like the ending of the movie didn't hit as hard as it could have. I had read the book previously, and the ending of the movie definitely hit home for me because I knew what was coming. I had been through it. And the book does such a good job of giving the characters that extra dimension that really made me care. Now, huge spoiler, obviously. At the end of the book, Odd Thomas, or throughout the book, I should say, Odd Thomas is in love with a character named Stormy. And the two of them, as it's mentioned many times, are destined to be together. And right then and there, even at the start of the book, that kind of threw a red flag when I first read it, that like something is going to go wrong. If they're destined to be together in a movie, something's got to go wrong. And of course it does. At the end of the movie, there's a shooter in a mall, and Stormy gets hit. But you don't see it. In the book and in the movie, they did a great job where you don't necessarily realize immediately that Stormy is dead, because throughout the movie, the ghosts don't actually ever speak to him. And in the book and in the movie, Odd sees Stormy at her job in an ice cream parlor inside the mall, and they're far enough away that no words would have been exchanged. They're just kind of looking at each other. She's smiling. He smiles because he sees that she's quote unquote okay. And then he rushes off to go finish saving the day. And then from there, in the movie, they have him doing a voiceover, sort of a wrap-up deal where he's explaining what happened afterwards and whatnot, and you're seeing clips of, like, him in the hospital because he gets shot, and you see him going home and all this other stuff, and it's all voiceover, so you don't see any words being exchanged. You don't hear them talking to each other. So again, you don't immediately go, oh, well, she died and she's a ghost, and he sees her and he wants to know that she's a ghost, but at the same time he doesn't. And when it's finally revealed, it's a heartbreaking moment if you care about the characters. And in the book, I just felt at that point, you had been with the characters for all these pages, all these chapters, and you got to know them so well. But in the movie, it's only an hour and a half, and I don't feel like it had quite the same impact. But they still did do a wonderful job overall on that, because it's still a bit of a shocking reveal, because they still hit it quite well. There was no initial huge sign that said, oh, well, she's a ghost at this point. There was nobody, like, brushing past her or immediately ignoring her for some stupid reason or anything like that. It was always just, they're worried about Odd, and she's worried about Odd, and they're all there type thing. So it was really well done overall, I feel. One of the two major things that I kind of wish they had have kept more accurate that did flesh out the characters are his parents and the character named Ozzy. Ozzy is played in the movie by Patton Oswalt, and he did a wonderful job of capturing the essence of the character. However, the character is described in the book as being like just a massive mountain of a man, not in the way of he's muscular. He's literally just a blob, basically. He has trouble getting out of his chair. He can't really move around too well. He's pretty much housebound. And in the movie, he's played by Patton Oswalt, who is absolutely nothing like that. He's still a rounder gentleman, sure, but nowhere near to this extreme that he's described as. And the character, the heart of the character is still there, but you don't get the little quirks like Ozzy's cat. Ozzy's cat absolutely hates Odd, and he like pisses in his shoes and little things like that. And I really would have liked to see that. Because of the pacing of the movie, I think that's part of the reason why they left that out, and possibly also time constraints. I don't see why they couldn't have added the extra half hour to introduce his parents and introduce Ozzy properly. There's also little things like the fact that the Fungus Man character is following Odd around. Now, what happens there is Odd suspects him because of the creatures that he calls Bodaks, and he follows the guy home, ends up informing the police chief. Police chief puts one of his men on the guy's house to watch him. And of course, what they don't realize is that the guy is working with this quote-unquote Fungus Bob character, and they end up killing him off. So the guy's ghost is haunting Odd because he blames Odd for getting him killed. So throughout the book after that point, you have the guy popping up at various intervals. One of them was Ozzy's house. He sees the guy standing out at the road glaring at him, and then the guy disappears, and Odd is like, what the hell type thing. And in the movie, because they left all that out, you just get the one church scene, which is a very impactful scene, and it does give off the impression that everything was, he was following him and all that. But it would have been nice to see more than just that one instance of him following Odd around for the day before Odd finds out that the guy's dead and it's his ghost that's been following him around all day. And the other thing is with his parents. Odd's parents are both very much crazy in different ways. His mom was sent to I don't believe in the book it was his mom that was sent to the institution. I think it was his aunt. but I don't remember. In the movie, they portray his mom as being crazy, and she was sent to a mental institution. His dad, he does mention that his dad is selling pieces of the moon, which is very accurate to the book. In the book, he ends up visiting both of his parents at one point to try to get a handle on things. It kind of grounds him, as he puts it, because his parents are so eccentric in their own ways that it allows him to sort of center himself. There was one part with his dad that I would have absolutely loved to have in the movie. It's my favorite line in the book. He's talking to his dad, and he's very nonchalant because he feels like he needs to go there, but he doesn't want to go there. And this is after the house blows up. In the house, a fork gets flung across the room by the ghost as a poltergeist, and it slices open a little bit of Odd's forehead. And when he goes to see his dad, he ends up making his dad angry because, as he puts it, alliteration pisses people off. And it was brilliant because his dad's like, "What happened to your forehead?" And Odd's like, "A fork?" And his dad's like, "A fork?" And it gets to the point where Odd uses the line, "A flipped fork flicked my forehead." And I absolutely loved that line because it is just so perfect. It's accurate, it's descriptive, and it's alliteration, which honestly I kind of like. So that would have been great to see them try to pull off properly in the movie, that whole back and forth with his dad. But in the movie, they still do a wonderful job overall of everything. Stormy was very much accurate. I thought Willem Dafoe did a great job bringing the police chief to life. And even though I knew the story start to finish, they still did surprise me by changing the ending. In the movie, he finds the bomb in the back of the van, just like in the book. But instead of him climbing into the van and getting shot in the back 3 times and grabbing the wires and pulling the wires out to stop the bomb from exploding, he ends up closing the back of the van, getting in the van and driving it away, and driving it to the outskirts of town and dumping it into this ravine thing to blow up. That kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't really expecting that, and I can't say it was a terrible twist. I much preferred the way the book went because it felt more heroic, but I can see why they would have done it the way they did because it's more cinematic, and that's the biggest difference whenever you go from a book to a movie. Is in a book you can portray it however you want. You have the power of your own imagination, whereas with the movie it's very much a visual medium, and explosions are cool. That's the only thing I can think of to say right there is they blew up the van because it's an explosion, and it's much more powerful than just a bomb being diffused, I guess. The Bodocs being brought to life was very shocking. I expected them to be a bit more shadowy, and they were more I can't really think of the word, but they were more see-through than I expected them to be. I expected them to be a bit more just darker looking, because I always envision them in my head as like practically literal shadows. But it was still really well done. I liked how much effort was actually put into them. They did look very creepy, very spooky. I think I will just cut it off here, and I will leave it up to you to decide if you want to go watch the movie or not. I would definitely recommend it. I would definitely recommend reading the book as well. Books, plural. There's, I think, 6 in the series, 7 in the series now, all based around the same character. And they're absolutely wonderful. I definitely love the character. It's one of the few series outside of Stephen King, who is my favorite author, that I absolutely love start to finish. I would have loved to see a sequel to the movie. Sadly, I don't think we're ever going to get one now, unless they just remake it. And unless they do a better job, I don't think a remake of Odd Thomas would go over very well. The first one didn't really, I don't think, make the money they wanted it to make, so I don't see them remaking it at all or putting out sequels. So it's a little disappointing, but that's the way life goes, I guess. So I will leave off here and like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's a video you want to hear my thoughts on a movie. Have a good one.